I was 3 years old when I got diagnosed with the condition I've got. It is Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
We got invited to go and see Dr. Syrup at the hospital. He sort of expressed what he thought we were probably looking at. I can just remember it being sort of information overload at that point, and I wasn't sort of fully aware of what Duchenne muscular dystrophy was, if I was honest. Spent several days quite distressed and upset, and then sort of both me and my husband took a step back and said, right, we've got to just get on and face this. Sort of that emotional roller coaster ride, we had to be put sort of on the back burner really a little bit. Went away and did a lot of research online and quickly realised that we were looking at something very serious.
There's a great quote by William Harvey was the physician who described the circulation of the blood, and there's a great quote from him about, you know, to really understand normal, what you have to do is study the rare and the extreme, and that teaches you how normal works. So aside from the really important thing about getting a cure and getting better treatment for Duchenne, anything we can understand about how a rare disease causes its effects always teaches us important things across the board.
So I feel like the worry for me is all it takes is one small thing to change and it could dramatically affect his life. And Duchenne is known to make it harder for people to have a prolonged life expectancy. And honestly, I'm not looking forward to the news whenever it comes. With any luck, it'll be in 70, 80 years' time from now, but that's not the way this condition works unless there is a cure found, so that's probably the thing that bothers me the most.
This documentary is going to be an insight into the reality of Duchenne, how my family and friends support me, my achievements and my darker times. My name is Connor Towie. I'm 20 years old, and as of yet, there is no cure for Duchenne.
My name's Zoe and I'm Connor's mum. So Connor as a baby, he was typical, smiley, happy, energetic, yeah, just a completely normal baby. We'd never have known there was anything not right. So we first started realising that there was something not quite right with Connor when he was first walking. It became more prominent when his brother came along and then he started walking. You could just see a massive difference between both of them, and that's when I first sort of approached the GP. The implied, you know, that you're being a bit paranoid, that you're looking for things that aren't really there. We then got a telephone call from Dr. Suri's secretary wanting to see us quite quickly, and that's when my first suspicions were sort of heightened that perhaps there was something a bit more serious going on than what I'd initially thought.
I knew that there was something wrong because when my mum and that come home to my nan and granddad, they were upset and they sent me in to the living room so they could talk to them in the kitchen. So I knew there was something wrong because we'd been to hospital.
I think that initial diagnosis that Connor received for Duchenne muscular dystrophy was probably the hardest thing to hear. Then first, like I say, the first few days were really a roller coaster.
when I'm out in public, if someone like stares at me, at one point I used to get upset about it quite a bit. People staring at me and stuff like that, and I'd be like, well, why are you staring at me? I'm like no different to you. I'm just I've got a condition kind of thing.
So the first thing I genuinely thought when I saw Connor was probably, okay, who's brought their child to the university? As horrible as that is, it's the truth. But I noticed very, very quickly the little bit of facial hair, and I was like, okay, there's no way a child about 5, 6, 7 years old is gonna have facial hair. So I clicked on quite quickly that he must have had a medical condition. I would have never thought of Duchenne. I didn't even know what it was. I just assumed it was a form of dwarfism.
I walk with my back curved, but it's not actually curved, it's just how I walk to keep my balance from my condition. So obviously kids are going to look at that because they don't understand what's going on, but for adults to stop and stare at you and snigger, and if they're with their kids, it's like you're not really teaching them to be nice to people, you're just basically saying, well, if someone's different, laugh at him.
People sometimes are very quick to make comments and judgments when actually they've got no understanding and don't even know any of the facts.
Because if we're all the same, it'd be pretty boring, so everyone's got something different about them. So I think that's what needs to be happening, it's just people need to know what's right to say and what's not right to say.
So I think Connor's, a lot of it is education. He wants to educate people that, you know, that disability doesn't always have a big flag above it saying, you know, what the disability is.
And I had to pick up my drugs today. Legal drugstore! Right then guys, let's take the tablets, yeah? 2M. Oh, 2M. You got 3. And yeah, I take 7 in a row. Sometimes I get stuck, so that's not always a good idea. You got to do them quick, when they melt in your mouth, that back up throat like one just done there. Blech. Disgusting. There's 5 different tablets I take, but obviously I take 9 in total, which is 63 a week.
63 tablets?
A week. And they seem to be doing the job right, so.
And if you don't take them, what happens or can't happen?
Well, if I just completely stop taking them, which is proper dangerous, is because I've loads of stress on my body and stuff like that, which can cause a lot of probably intensive care kind of stuff. That's why I just gotta keep taking them. They seem to be doing the thing. I'm on my feet still, so that's the main thing. For me, is being on my feet, so I just keep taking tablets, what I've been taking, and that's it. Always in the comfies for the hospital, seeing as I'm going to be sat around for quite a few hours today. So I try and live it as normal as other people, but for me that is the norm, is just medical stuff. That's what I'd say is normal for me. So guys, when the tour was down, when the tour was to go, got that set up, you know what I mean? It's absolutely fantastic, this, isn't it? Being on this treatment now since I was about 13. I have to come 2 days, so today and then tomorrow. I've finished my first day. It's a long time, but worth it in the end. 4 hours today, 4 hours tomorrow. But I've got to stay asleep with this in my arm tonight, which isn't as bad as it could be. Obviously, I've been on bone infusions since I was 13, so it gets a bit easier sleeping with cannula in, but it's still a pain in the ass, but hey-ho. Every time I go to the toilet, I've got to lug this bloody thing off the sides of it and all. It just shows you how fucking small I am. I am a fucking midget.
All people with Duchenne probably don't have exactly the same disease. And we've realised that particularly, you know, as our understanding of kind of genetics and molecular biology and those kind of things has progressed in recent years. Diseases used to be identified on the way they looked and the way patients with them looked and the features they had. And they were usually named after the person that first described it. So that's why a lot of diseases like Duchenne have got a name attached to them. But then once we can kind of get into the genetics and the fundamental biology more, we start to understand that not everybody that looks like they've got the same disease has got quite the same underlying abnormality. So that sometimes there's a bit of a kind of spread within what we label as one particular disease, and it behaves a little bit differently. So Connor has low bone density, which means that there is less calcium mineral in his bones than we would expect for someone of his age. And that means that his bones aren't as strong and are more likely to break easily. And that has affected the bones in his spine. Connor's developed low bone density for probably 3 main reasons. And these are common to a lot of young men with muscular dystrophy. Firstly, the steroids are a really big factor. And steroids are a fantastic treatment. You know, they're life-saving treatments for people with all sorts of neurological disorders, immune disorders, joint disorders. So if you need them, you need them. But they do come with side effects, and one of those is an effect on the bones. The steroids affect the cells in the bones and how they work, and so that has an effect on the structure and the strength at the microscopic level of the bone. In addition to that, because people with neuromuscular problems can't get as much exercise and as much physical activity, and a lot of people use wheelchairs, then that has an effect on bones as well. So your bones respond to being loaded and having physical strain, and particularly while you're a child and a teenager, that's a really powerful effect. So if your bones aren't being stressed and strained by walking and doing sports and being active, then that does have an effect on how strong a skeleton you build. Then the third factor is probably the male hormone testosterone. A lot of people with Duchenne are a little bit late going into puberty and starting to produce testosterone, and that hormone's really important for your bone strength and bone development as well. So a lot of people with Duchenne need to have a little push with some testosterone treatment to kind of kick them into starting puberty. Once they do, they usually go okay, but that probably has an effect as well. So the treatment we're using for Connor is a class of drugs called bisphosphonates, and they're really the mainstay for a lot of the bone diseases that we treat. Connor's having a treatment called pamidronate, which we use very commonly in young adults, but we also use treatments called zoledronic acid, which is given as a drip, and different medications that can be given as a tablet rather than as a drip. But effectively, they all kind of do the same thing when they get to your bones. And when the drug is taken up by the bones, then it slows down the activity of the bone cells. Your bones are repairing and replacing all the time to keep them strong. There are 2 sets of bone cells. The first lot come along and kind of eat away little bits of the old bone, and then the new bone cells come along and put new bone back, so you're kind of recycling in the same way that your skin's being made new all the time, your bones are. And when that process is going on a bit too fast, then the bone that's being made can't quite keep up with the bone that's being taken away. And so by giving a drug that slows the process down, it means that the cells that make the bone can kind of keep pace, and they have time to make nice, good quality, strong bone that repairs well and matures properly, instead of just kind of lobbing down bone as quick as they can and it not being very good quality. So by doing that, we improve the structure and the strength of the bones, and we reduce the risk of fractures, particularly fractures of the spine, which are the ones that we worry about the most.
So there's 2 things for me. I believe the first thing that's affected our friendship in terms of his condition would likely be the medication he's on, because some of the medication that he was under does give him a little bit of a mood swing, gives him a different mindset. It was almost as if at points he was bipolar, but he was never diagnosed with anything like that. It was just the way that the medication would affect him.
Day to day, we have to just remind ourselves how lucky we are and how well Connor has done beyond any expectations of, I think, any of his consultants from that initial diagnosis. And at the end of the day, you just want a healthy, happy as possible child, just really to sort of, like I say, you have to be thankful every day really for where we are at the minute.
So we've got a bit of adaptive equipment in my bedroom and bathroom. This bed, it goes up and down, back goes up, leg things go up. That was like the best thing that we've ever got, especially when I did my back. to get as comfy as I could. This was absolutely fantastic for that. We've got the hoist as well. Well, it's stuck and it needs fixing, so that's something that we need to get. With the hoist, it helps with people that's in wheelchairs to obviously get out of the wheelchair and get into bed easy, like get to the toilet easy and get into the bath and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got some other adaptive equipment in the bathroom. The first one is the bath. We've got the chair that helps me get in the bath. That was a big thing. That was good when I did my back. Obviously, that will come down, so I'll be able to just slide in onto it, and then obviously it goes in and gets me in, and that was absolutely bang on when I did my back. It's also got jets in it as well, which really helps my muscles with all the water like going around and things like that. The sink at the moment is not working as it should be, so that's another repair we've got to get. But this sink goes up and down, and as you can see, it's a bit of a nightmare. I have to go on my tiptoes and like brush my teeth like that at the moment, but that's life, innit?
The ongoing effects on life, really. The biggest and main one quite a number of years ago now was when we had to look at moving from where we lived, taking on a bigger financial burden at that time, having to move into accommodation that could be worked with and be adapted for Connor's needs. And lots of people have asked me since, how do you cope with it? And I always have the same answer. It's not a case of coping with it, it's a case of you have to get on, you have to do the best you can, and it's not something that you ever fully come to terms with, I don't think. You just learn to live with it.
Obviously with cognitive condition, there's obviously the downsides to it. I keep a positive attitude quite a lot, but there is some times where it does get to me and it's like, you think, why me? But then you've got to think about that. Yeah, it's terrible what I've got, but there is other people out there that are worse off. And I think thinking like that does help a bit, but obviously sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's pretty boring that I've got this condition because I can't do a lot of things that my friends can do. Same with like relationships like that, my mates get into like relationships and you want to be in a relationship yourself, so like you can go out with your mates together and like double dates and that kind of stuff. And you see it all the time when your mates doing it and you're like, it gets you down because you can't do that, and you keep trying to like make something out of like doing that kind of stuff. A lot of my friends go like clubbing all the time and stuff like that, and they try and invite me out, but then they'll remember that that place is not like disabled access, which it does get to me quite a bit. Obviously you see your mates going out and they've invited you out and then you can't go out with them. That's the main thing on my dark days, is like thinking, well, if I could drive, like alright, without all this other stuff, then I could go out, and then if I felt down, you'd just go out and do something. But like for me, it's like I can't just do that. And it just gets to me that like, it's not fair kind of thing. Because at my age, you should be able to do everything that your mates should be doing. So I think that like does get to me like quite a bit.
I would say confidence, I'm surprised it hasn't massively affected his confidence, because at our age and a little bit younger, when I first met him, you know, you've started college, you're going to university, girls is definitely a factor, but with his height, it can be a lot more difficult for the lad, and I feel like that would have had a massive effect on him. But Connor takes it with a stride of confidence. He's not afraid, he speaks his mind. If he likes a girl and he wants her number, you better believe he's more likely to walk up to a girl in a club and say, I want your number, than I ever would. So in terms of Connor going through hard times at university, I feel like we all did. It wasn't just an individual thing. Like as a group, acting is so difficult. I feel the way around it was literally just encouraging him sometimes, because there were moments where he was a bit of a diva, I'll be completely honest, but I feel like medication had had an effect on that and some of the treatment. So sometimes it was almost as if he used it a little bit for his own game, and I totally rate it because I would have done the same, to be honest with you. But the best thing for Connor was literally encouraging him and being like, look mate, I'm going to do this, you can do this, there's no excuse for you not to do this. Plus, we always used to reference people like Warwick Davis and Peter Dinklage, who don't exactly have Duchenne but had similar capabilities in that aspect. For starters, in terms of trying to get more people to understand Duchenne, it needs to be more known in general, so there needs to be more people like Connor that are now speaking up, going out of their way to try and explain to people what this condition is, how it affects you, and what you can do to sort of understand and not take the piss.
One thing that does help with my condition is I go to hydrotherapy, which is where you go to a pool that's like a warm pool, and like physios will do like stretching it, and in water you can tend to do a lot more because obviously you've got the water and stuff like that to help with it, and obviously when it's warm it relaxes your muscles and stuff like that, and stretches are a lot easier to do. And the benefits from that is that obviously when I've finished I feel a bit like, it's weird because you feel a bit heavy but you're not, because obviously you've done so much stuff in the pool that obviously like my muscles will hurt after, but like the day after I'll feel the benefits, like I'm not in pain as much as what I normally am, and it like loosens my muscles up, and like doing that once a week as well is like, it's for fitness as well, because I'll swim and stuff like that, and it's a good way to get fitness in alongside having your stretches done. So like, that's basically what is hydrotherapy is, just basically going into a pool, having stretches done, and that's it really, but it does help out quite a bit.
So because you're lacking in dystrophin, your muscle cells don't develop as they should do. And how it affects a person is with problems with muscle strength, with muscle length, with muscle range of movement. Trying to keep people mobile and walking as long as possible. Characteristics of it are you sometimes can tell a patient that's got, yes, big calf muscles and round face. You can quite often tell the Duchenne patient by the fact that they have that. I think for somebody of your age to be still up and mobile is brilliant. It's really good. It's quite often people.
I know there isn't many of my age, I don't think that I know of that on the wheelchair.
That's right. So it's preserving what you've got basically for as long as is humanly possible.
It should be quite a long time.
Yeah.
I know, I'm trying. It's been a while since I've done this. I need to get doing it all upstairs. Get it strengthened up. Yeah. Feel very heavy when you get out.
So the thing that really is the end point of low bone density is fracture, and that's what we're worried about, and that's what we're trying to prevent. Classically, in people with low bone density, the fractures that occur are often spine fractures, and we also worry about hip fractures because they're the fractures that have a real effect on your well-being and your ability to function. If you break your foot or your arm, it is unpleasant and painful, and it limits your function for a short time, but usually it's a kind of fairly easy fracture to fix. But it's the hip and spine fractures that are the ones we really worry about and the ones we really try to prevent.
I think heightened and highlighted how important having the right equipment and the right space was when Connor actually fractured his back earlier on this year after a fall, and if we'd not got all that equipment in place, then I don't think we would have been able to cope at that stage.
Morning, I'm shopping in Harrods and I'm going to go to Chrissy and Dior. From before. This is last time before. You pussy girl, what's it making me say?
I've seen some of Connor's online promotional stuff that he does.
My milkshake brings all the girls to the yard, damn right. It's better than yours, damn right. It's better than yours, I can teach you, but I have to trust. My milkshake brings all the girls to the yard, damn right. It's better than yours, damn right. It's better than yours, I can teach you, but I have to trust.
Connor's online videos, what a nut.
Show it, show it, show it. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it.
Quite interesting, again, just shows the sort of personality and character of Connor and that sense of humour that sometimes we don't see in the house as much as what people see online.
Right round, you spin me right round, baby, right round, baby, right.
It was the cringiest stuff, but it was so funny. Sometimes I genuinely wonder if you're on like some sort of really strong medication when you do those videos. I'm like, what is this lad doing? But you know what? It's funny.
Inside and outside, through his house with the blue little windows and a blue Corvette, and everything he's seen for him and his song and everybody around, but they ain't got nobody to listen. I'm blue, da-ba-dee-da-da-da, da-ba-dee-da-da-da.
Yeah, he's a bit weird, but it's really funny, to be honest with you.
I started posting like little dancing videos on Twitter, just a little fun thing I was doing for my mates, and I just did this one song that were very popular at the time, and it was like the certain movements I did on the video that made it so big. You pussy girl, what the movements you making me say? But like the main reason was to get like awareness out there for my condition in a different way than what other people were doing. Now people are understanding what Duchenne is all about. It's just led me to some amazing opportunities as well.
In terms of thinking about how it helps in terms of, well, just getting Duchenne out there, I feel like I come from a very old school sort of sense of any publicity is good publicity. I feel like there's probably a better way to go about how he does this, but for the short term, I feel like these viral videos are definitely something to do to build a following, to build a bit of a brand, and then once he's built that basic following and a little bit of a loyalty with the people that enjoy the stuff he puts out, then it's more easier for him to reel in and say, look, right, this is the serious stuff now, how this affects me, what I have to go through daily. And based on when he originally was showing all this information, I was like, okay, Connor, so you have to go through all this all the time. And it was a lot. But nobody really cared when he was putting the post up. But after he went viral and he got so many more people paying attention to him.
If you keep just doing all Duchenne stuff and disability stuff, it's all doom and gloom. It helps me kind of cope with my condition because it kind of lets me forget about all the shit that I've been through. You're able to just be yourself and not actually think about the disability side of stuff. At some point, now and again, it's going to all get to you, all the hospital appointments, all the medication you take, all like treatments you go in for. Yeah, it's going to get you down, but that's why I do the comedy, to kind of escape that. I feel like if I keep talking about Duchenne all the time, disability stuff all the time, it's going to really get to me. And I was doing the comedy, it's getting away from all the stress and all the shit I'll go through. If that's what you want to do in life, then live it to the fullest. Don't listen to anything that people have got to say. Don't want hot, but thing at night. Would it never stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn on the lights and I'll go. If I get loads of hate off for one thing that I've done, like say, is I'll just come off that platform just for that day, and it is really hard not to come back, because when someone says something, and especially about my condition and things like that, it gets me, and it's like, well, I need to say something back. I need to stick up for myself, but I don't do that because you're rising above it if you don't reply. Most of the younger kids are gonna think, oh, it's just someone, especially like the dancing videos, they're gonna think, oh, it's just someone dancing. But I do think there'll be the odd person that's younger, that's probably who's got a disability. They're gonna be able to kind of relate a bit to what you're trying to do. But most of the younger kids are just gonna think it's just some guy that's dancing about, he's funny, and that's about it, really. They'll forget about something like that.
It is in the culture and the day and age that we live in now, where celebrities and things like that do make a massive difference to the awareness of anything, whether that be a medical condition or, you know, the latest craze of trousers to buy. Then people do take notice of what they say. So I think sort of taking all this onto the platform of social media and stuff like that can only be a good thing. The more people that know about all these rarer conditions can only be helpful.
But I think Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a really active area of research, because although it's not that common, it does have obviously really serious effects on the people who have it. And by understanding how those effects work and what we can do to try and improve treatment, then it has implications for lots of other diseases as well. So you might think you're just doing the research into this one particular disease, but something you learn might then be used for lots of other patients as well. So by studying rare diseases, we sometimes learn really, really important things that have an effect on lots of other people.
And I think by doing a documentary and actually talking about yourself that's got the condition is a good thing, because it brings more emotion across to people, and it gets them more hooked on wanting to, like, oh, well, there's this condition that I don't know about, and then they want to know about it. And I think with my condition, some people aren't willing to speak out about it. Like for me, I speak out about everything, where some people might not want to speak about that. And I think through this, it's showing proper things of the condition. It makes it more personal, and it's like saying that people with that condition shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. And
realistically, I'd like to see more people understand what this condition is, the whole aspect of what you have to go through. Because the amount of times I'd walk down the street with Connor when we were studying, and someone would look and point at him and start giggling at him, and I'm like, I really want to knock 10 bells of, well, you know, out of them because of how uneducated and rude they can be. But that's because people don't know. So that's kind of hopefully what I'm hoping this documentary will do. It'll bring out a better understanding. More people will be able to learn about this condition.
7 years ago, if I had followed the typical path of Duchenne, I would have been a full-time wheelchair user. I never thought I would go to university because of this. But here I am, graduating university with a degree in performance theatre. So thinking of the future and what I want to do, but also I want to be someone that can go out and speak about like his experiences with disability. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my experiences with disability, but also how a disability has not stopped me doing stuff in my life. I know it's a weird way of putting it, but personally to me, when I started knowing that at a certain age there's a high chance that you're going to be in a wheelchair, I feel like it wouldn't have given me the motivation to do what I'm doing now. So I want to get my story out there just to inspire people that no matter what you go through in life, you can always get through it if you put your mind to it. So has anyone in this room heard of Duchenne muscular dystrophy? So Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a muscle wasting condition that affects all the muscles in the body. Because of my condition, a lot of people should be in a wheelchair full time at 13, and I'm 20, so that's quite a big achievement. This made me more determined and stronger, and I went to succeed, and now in front of you, telling you my story, I don't even know you on a personal level. I always wanted to become an actor for years, and I thought I'd struggle with it due to my conditions and what people said. But at 20, it's unheard of people not being a full-time wheelchair user with my condition. But here I am, baffling doctors and families and friends and the Duchenne community. I don't quite fit the mould of the condition, which isn't a bad thing at all. I think it's pretty cool. And people say you not get anywhere with acting, but I now don't agree in it. But it takes time for everybody to achieve your dreams. And I bet people in this room have always thought about giving up at the first hurdle, but you believed in yourself, so you've just kept going and going. You can't be doing that. It's the 21st century. You've got to take risks. Don't listen to anyone who says you can't do things. I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to let him win. So I just carried on, and I'm doing quite well now, getting quite a lot of backing from celebrities on the documentary as well. So it just goes to show that you just have to keep going, and if people are being horrible to you, you've got to show them and prove them wrong that you can actually do it. Any more questions?
How did you meet Harrison?
Through Expressive Arts and doing the shows in with Miss Hinton, and then he's doing my documentary for me, so been a bit emotional, but that's what we want, a bit of emotion in it, just to show the other side of the condition as well, but also inspire people to do what they want to do.
So you've always had that kind of like steely determination and things like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that you were like stubborn or anything in a negative way.
No, I feel like Mum and Dad's brought me up that sometimes being stubborn can benefit you, but not being stubborn in a bad way, being stubborn in a good way kind of thing.
Digging your heels in
Yeah.
to get the job done. So what's for you now? What's the next step?
Well, I've just set up my own business to start going into schools and like colleges and that, and doing like workshops about disability and like inspirational stuff. Yeah, just started doing that. It's all been registered.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Like
You'll be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so
an absolute spokesman for, I would love you to come into my classes when they're moaning about this, that, and the other, and you come and tell them the real truth of what it's like for you every day to overcome what you have to do.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's saying, if you enjoy something, get on stage and do it. And I did push you.
Yeah, and I feel like that made me more confident as well. Like I felt like we've been in the choir and doing the shows that everyone like a family.
But you've got to think the times that you were like, I can't get on stage. And then by the time you left in year 11, I couldn't get you off stage.
I know.
But I didn't treat you any different.
Oh, no.
You was treated exactly the same as everybody else. And I just knew that you got it in you. Yeah. And I knew that, you've got this condition, but you're still Connor. Yeah, and I think that really helped me as well. Like, it never stopped me doing stuff. Like, I didn't use it as an excuse. No. I just got on with it. Which is what you need to do, isn't it? You can't be sitting there saying, woe is me and, all this. And you've got to say, do you know what? Yeah, I've got this. But you just got to live with it and accept you've got it. And there's nothing you can
really do about it.
They did say when you'd gone that, you know, it was just so good to see a young man stood there and not going, woe is me, but has just got out of life by horns and said, do you know what, I'm going to run with this.
If it's something you believe you want to do, go and do it. Don't listen to other people, and that's what I want to get the message across, is like with doing like public speaking and going to schools, and that is to show if you believe in yourself, get it done. Don't worry about what other people got to say.
So the future for Connor, I just hope he continues being as vibrant and passionate and retains his sense of humour that he has got, and I think that's helped him a lot with his diagnosis and learning to sort of just live day to day with that diagnosis. Main worries? I don't know, because I just know that Connor's so ambitious and so driven about everything that even when he will be facing difficult times, I'm sure that he will overcome them because of his personality. Like I say, his determination, it's just unbelievable. I suppose it's just all you want for any of your children is for them to be happy and to have as fulfilled life as possible. The one piece of advice I would give to anybody that's sort of just starting down the journey really is allow them to be children. Don't wrap them up in cotton wool, and let them have as fulfilled and as life as possible, really. Thank you.
Yeah, never give up. Just got to keep going, haven't you? But yeah, thank you guys for listening anyway.